I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Welcome to Camnet TV Main News, the headlines. President HICHILEMA cannot use a jet that was fraudulently procured as Cabinet backs its sale. Load shedding is back under the UPND administration. UCF injects $531 United States into a fertilizer plant. And in international news, UN envoy discusses Sudan peace process in Juba. And in sports, BAKALA upbeat ahead of under-17 COSAFA opener. Details coming through after this commercial.
In our quest to serve nations and develop Africa, Savenda is investing in the agriculture sector so as to produce supply for both local and international markets, housing over 12,000 pullets that are nurtured and fed with our locally made stock feed that comes from our own locally grown maize and soya beans, all processed from our recently installed milling and mixing plant. Our over 95,000 layers have an output capacity of over 1,500 trays of fresh eggs per day that are carefully selected and packaged for all the leading stores and supermarkets nationwide. Our greenhouses are fitted with the latest irrigation system, and the seedlings are nurtured to ensure only healthy plants reach the fields. With our deliberate planting schedule, we are better placed to supply constantly without interruption, thus reliable. Savenda Farms is also changing lives of its dedicated workforce drawn from the local community and beyond. So the next time you think fresh and green, think Savenda Farms.
And now the main news in detail. A midwifery from Kafue General Hospital has narrated how the mother of an infant who was allegedly stolen 6 days after its birth at the University Teaching Hospital was born at Kafue General Hospital and later referred to UTH because of the complication it and the mother had. Poliana Nema was testifying in a case in which 28-year-old Precious Nkonika, a judiciary officer, Nelly Kasalo, 41, a nutritionist demonstrator at UTH, Emily Ho, 37, also a nutrition demonstrator at UTH, Rebecca Mkandawire, 42, maid at UTH, and Grace Siska are charged with one count of theft of a child contrary to Section 171.
Witness was said to have received a baby that was allegedly reported stolen 6 days after its birth from Kafue General Hospital to the University Teaching Hospital broke down during cross-examination in court. This was after Ikachana Namangola was questioned by one of the defense lawyers to explain to the court why there were allegations of the baby being stolen when the documents from the University Teaching Hospital, which were before court, indicated that the baby was discharged from hospital. However, one of the witnesses who testified before Ms. Namangola had told Lusaka Magistrate Crispin Hampungani during her testimony that on the 7th of May 2022, when the baby was discovered missing, it was earlier discharged from the hospital, but they could not collect it because there were some conditions which they needed to meet to collect the baby, and so it remained in admission. Precious Nkonika, 28, a stores officer at the judiciary, Nelly Kasolo, 41, and Emily Ho, both nutritional demonstrators at the University Teaching Hospital, Rebecca Mkandawire, 42, a maid at UTH, and Grace Seseka, they're charged with stealing of a child, contrary to the laws of Zambia. They are alleged to have jointly and whilst acting together with other persons unknown with intent to deprive Elena Lungu as a parent with lawful care or charge stolen a named child. The 5 accused persons are appearing before the Lusaka subordinate court for their trial, according to an earlier statement issued by the police. Before the case was taken to court, it is said that 2 weeks after Miss Precious Nkonika, the judiciary officer, delivered but unfortunately lost the child, a theft was staged to compensate for her loss. It is alleged that it was at this stage Ms. Nkonika was allegedly assisted to steal the said baby. Trial continues before court. Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
United Capital Fertilizer and Wuhan Engineering Company Limited has signed a contract which will facilitate the construction of an ultra-modern second fertilizer plant to produce ammonia. Speaking during the signing ceremony, UCF Board Chairman Chance Kabage says the investment, which will cost 531 United States dollars, will see the production of 180,000 metric tons of ammonia and 300,000 metric tons of urea per annum. Mr. Kabage says the negotiations, which Wuhan took over 8 months, culminating into this project. Meanwhile, UCF Cliff Wuhan Vice President Wang Xiaoyi says this agreement signifies the commencement of ammonia and urea project by the year 2026.
United Capital Fertilizer Zambia Limited, a subsidiary of Wonderful Group of Companies, has announced the commencement of a construction of a fertilizer manufacturing plant in Zambia at a total cost of 531 million United States dollars. Speaking during the contract signing, United Capital Fertilizer Board Chairperson Chance Kabage says the project will be one of the biggest in the region, with hopes of exporting the product. He says this will in turn reduce the cost of fertilizer and agriculture in general.
Come next year, by June, July, we'll have all the fertilizer that is required in this country available. And that will be solving a key milestone, a key problem that this country has been having for so many years. So we at Capital Fertilizer, we value this signing of this agreement, because now we've sorted out the deal. We now have to sort out the urea and the ammonia. Our colleagues who are excellent, have done a lot of work all over the world in this area. We're very confident. Really, we'll be sleeping comfortably, knowing that they're going to do an excellent job. They are a world-class, company. They're not only you see them here, they're all over Africa, they're all over the world.
Mr. Kabage says the plant, once operational, will create about 2,500 employment opportunities for the Zambian people.
The whole country, everywhere you go, they are talking about nothing but fertilizer. The signing today of this agreement is going to ensure that this country, come year to 2026, or even earlier, this country will no longer have problems in terms of having D in place, fertilizer in place, having ammonia, and also having urea in place in a timeous manner, and also the desired quality. At the end of that period, this company is expected to employ a minimum of 2,500 employees. Significant addition to create job creation in this country.
And Wuhan Engineering Company Limited Vice President says his company is happy to partner with Zambia in this developmental milestone, owing to the fact that Zambia is dependent on agriculture inputs imported.
Zambia is a big agricultural country and has been relying mainly on the import of chemical fertilizer to meet the domestic needs on agricultural production. This project will fully utilize the local mine resource in Zambia, and it will be processed into high value-added fertilizer products through advanced process technology. The capacity is 300,000 tons per year. It will be the first modern fertilizer plant in Zambia, and even among the neighbor countries in East Africa. The launch of this significant project is going to greatly elevate the shortage of fertilizers in Zambia.
Sharon Kalimbula, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Former Health Minister Dr. Chitalu Chilufya has advised the United Party for National Development (UPND) to stop politicizing the health sector. Dr. Chilufya says the UPND administration has failed to deliver medicines in health facilities and are now subjecting people to prescriptions. Dr. Chilufya says his administration, while in office, never procured any expired drugs, as was being propagated by some members of society who convened with politicians and civil servants to dent his image. Meanwhile, leader of the opposition in Parliament, Brian Munduwile, says the removal of some civil servants alleged to belong to the Patriotic Front from the civil service and replacing them with the UPND cadres is now bearing negative fruits, which is affecting the delivery of service in government.
Amongst the fundamental pillars of these health systems we're talking about is the supply chain for medicines. This has collapsed in Zambia, and today citizens are vulnerable to morbidity and mortality, or simply put, to ill health and death due to common public health challenges such as malaria. The PF government never procured any expired drugs, never procured any leaking condoms, and there is no laboratory in Zambia today in the world that is WHO accredited that can adduce evidence that there were expired drugs procured or leaking condoms. This was an abominable lie, a conspiracy of monumental proportion.
There's lack of delivery in the health sector, like my brother pointed out. Lack of delivery in the agricultural sector. My call to the President and the UPND government is that this is not time to deviate attention from non-delivery of physic, non-delivery of medicines, to the so-called leaked condoms and expired drugs. People have been challenged on the floor of the House. Can you bring evidence from accredited laboratories showing that indeed the UPND, the PF government procured expired drugs? So, dear Zambians, now is the time to hold the government.
Energy Minister Peter Kapala has announced that Zambia is to start experiencing 6-hour load shedding following the reduction in water levels at the Kariba Dam. The Energy Minister told Parliament Friday morning that during the year 2022, the Kariba Lake's water level has been decreasing steadily on account of low inflow from the mainstream Zambezi River and its tributaries. Mr. Kapala says the Zambezi River Authority has, with immediate effect, directed Zimbabwe Power Company to immediately ensure the power generation activities at the South Bank Power Station are reduced to a maximum of 300 megawatts instead of 600 megawatts. He says ZESCO Limited will also reduce its generation at Kariba North Bank Power Station to a maximum of 800 megawatts until further review of the substantive hydrological outlook.
10th August 2022, Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema bragged about how the ruling party ended load shedding in less than a year of being in office.
When we came in, we said we'll end load shedding. The low-hanging fruit is Kafia Gojlo. Generator number 2, number 3, number 4, we are now on number 5. And way ahead of December, we will be completing that project. Today you will sit and there's no load shedding. You've even forgotten that there was load shedding, citizens. So let's not have short memories. Remembering things will allow us to do more.
2 months down the line, Minister of Energy Peter Kapala has announced on the floor of Parliament Friday morning that Zambia is to start experiencing 6 long hours of power outage following the reduction in water levels at the Kariba Dam. According to the minister, as of 28 November 2022, the Kariba Lake water level stood at 476.09 meters above sea level, representing only 4.12% of usable water storage for power generation.
ZESCO will implement a load management regime at rationing power generation at the Kariba complex to avoid a complete shutdown. This will be done with a view to minimize the impact on key economic sectors as well as preservation of the integrity of generation units at the Kariba complex. We anticipate that based on the water levels, this will translate into a load management regime starting on the 15th of December 2022 up to 6 hours daily until the water levels improve.
The minister, however, says industrial yards will not be affected by load shedding, but that households will be the most affected, adding that government has come up with measures to mitigate the situation, such as optimizing other power generation avenues relating to Ndola Energy, as well as commissioning the last station at the Kafiwe plant.
Anticipate to restart the Ndola Energy, which will feed in about 105 megawatts into the system. Also, we'll soon commission the last unit at the Kafiwe Lower, which will also bring in about 150. That's why there is this shortfall, which will allow us to load manage, especially residential areas, and I don't think industrial plants will be affected in the load management that we are going to undertake.
For now, the Zambian citizens will have to embrace themselves for 6 long hours of load shedding amidst high fuel price. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Deputy Secretary to the Cabinet, Oliver Kalabo, says he would be glad to see the people behind the procurement of the Gulf Stream G650 face the law. Mr. Kalaba says there is consensus by the cabinet to sell the Gulf Stream, and those calling on government not to sell the jet are endorsing corruption. He says government will not allow President Hakainde Hichilema to use the jet that was fraudulently purchased and overpriced. Mr. Kalabo was speaking during press briefing in Lusaka Friday, where he also dispelled claims from some sections of the media suggesting that First Lady Mtinda Hichilema traveled to Dubai on the 13th of November this year using the presidential jet Gulfstream G650.
The issue of the presidential jet is back on the topical issues as Zambia's 7th Republican President Hakainde Hichilema wants to uphold the campaign pledge prior to the August 12, 2021 general elections to sell the presidential jet.
Someone asked the question, I say, the first money to support youth programs is to sell that presidential jet. I found a buyer. The people of Zambia don't need that jet. What the people of Zambia need is youth employment through this social contract.
Some sections of society have advised that President Hichilema against selling the presidential jet, and Deputy Secretary to the Cabinet, Oliver Kalabo, says there is no way they are going to allow President Hichilema to use the Gulfstream G650 that was fraudulently purchased.
It's an instrument which was brought into this country fraudulently, overpriced. There's no way you can allow your head of state to enter that plane and use it under that circumstances. So that's out of the question.
He told a media briefing in Lusaka Friday that there is consensus by cabinet to sell the jet, and that those are calling on government not to do so are endorsing illegalities. He adds that he would love to see a day when people who allegedly procured the Gulfstream G650 are taken to jail.
For the people who did the shady deals, and hopefully we catch them and find where they took the money and recover the money and still sell it and buy. If we need another plane, we'll buy where even you can go and fact check the price of the plane from the manufacturer, the upgrade, and you say, yes, this is a true reflection, not the 194 million when the plane is between 50 to 60 or 60 to 70 million, or everything inclusive. So you can't. I mean, let's be proud as a nation. Let's be proud to see our president in a plane which we are proud as taxpayers to have paid for. That plane was bought from money we borrowed, and we have to pay that money back. So we have to go for the people who did this deal I would love to see the day when they are in jail or they are paid back the money. I would love to see that day because that money would have gone to schools, that money would have gone to CDF. Then you asking that to keep it. We still have the challenge that will take us somewhere.
It dispelled media speculation suggesting that First Lady Mutinda HICHILEMA traveled to Dubai on the 13th of November this year using the presidential jet.
Is that the First Lady traveled commercially, and the invitation of the Make Foundation Africa-Asia Luminary Conference, which was scheduled for the 15th to 16th November 2022. The organizers provided the ticket for the First Ladies and 3 other technical advisors, and costs were paid for by those.
Minister of Information and Media Permanent Secretary Kenneth Kalunga also shared his views.
Normally and on record, encouraging all the media houses, both from the public and private media houses, to be factual and ethical, and also story should be balanced.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
In other news, All People's Congress President Nason Msoni has charged that it will work for government to keep transferring their failures and incompetence in the running of government on civil servants. Mr. Msoni says most of the failed campaign promises are due to lack of practical skills by the political leaders themselves. He says appointing people on the basis of region is the major contributing factor on the shoddy performance of this government. The opposition leader feels the failure to deliver has everything to do with the incompetence and lack of practical skills by political leaders themselves in the United Party for National Development administration.
Talent is not found in one region. Talent is found in all regions of our country. And the quicker he learns and grasps this, the better. Blaming civil servants who can't identify themselves, who can't defend themselves, will not work. This whole thing is not working because you have appointed people who lack the necessary political experience, because you have insisted that you appoint from one region. And what we are saying is that talent is found across region, not one region, but across regions. So to insist on blaming civil servants for the shortcoming of the political leadership is unfortunate. But what we expect is that the president and vice president will protect the integrity, will protect civil servants. Now, to allow party thugs, UPND party thugs, to be carrying out a professional assessment of the performance of civil servants is neither there or there. It's sickening. How can party thugs be the people to be evaluating the overall performance of civil servants? I think this is a joke. This has got to stop. Absolutely. How can the party thugs be the people to carry out who is working, which civil servant is working effectively and who is not working effectively?
Vice President Mtale Nalumango says she is not aware of the alleged sale of government shares in Kansashi mine and the presidential Gulf Stream. The Vice President says she has only heard of the sale of the 2 assets in the media, and in due course government will give a statement on the 2 matters. The Vice President was responding to a question raised by leader of the opposition in Parliament, Brian Munduwile, who wanted to find out why government has decided to sell 2 national assets without the approval of Parliament as stipulated by the law. Meanwhile, Mrs. Nalumango says government is still studying the Barotse Royal Agreement before it can give its position on the matter.
That government was finalizing the sale of the presidential jet, the Gulfstream G650. Your Honor, the Vice President, this morning we woke up to screaming headlines about the disposal of shares in Kansanshi. The law under 210 is very clear that disposal of major state assets should be subject to approval of Parliament. Clearly, these two transactions have not been presented before the floor of this House. My question is, why is your government proceeding with these two transactions, acting outside the law?
I would only say one thing, Madam Speaker, that because of the importance of this matter, I can give my understanding, which I have, but that's not enough. We need to come to the House and give our version of the statement. And it is my hope that the people of Zambia and the honorable member will be very happy with what we are going to bring. But allow us to bring a full statement so that justice is done. Just like you are saying, I too just saw the screaming, headline. But there's something I know. But let us bring a ministerial statement on this matter. It's very important. Madam, thank you.
Republican President Hakainde Hichilema has implored officers in the defense and security wings to remain professional and well-grounded. In a speech read on his behalf by Defense Minister Ambrose Lufuma during the Defense Service Command and Staff College 24th graduation ceremony Friday, President Hichilema says his administration is determined to meet the basic needs of every Zambian. However, that can be achieved if there is united and prosperous Zambia that provides equal opportunities for all. And Mr. Hichilema says the military in the region must continue to work together to promote regional peace, security, and play a key role in the economic reconstruction of the country. Meanwhile, Defense Service Command and Staff College Commandant Brigadier General Humphrey Nyone says the 79 graduates have gained academic and military skills ready to take up an assignment.
After spending 11 months in class, 79 officers from the Defense Service have graduated. The 79 officers are drawn from the Zambia Army, Zambia Air Force, Zambia National Service, and the Office of the President. The officers undertook a challenging command and staff course, which runs side by side with the University of Zambia diploma course in Defense and Security. The Defense Service Command was held Friday morning in Chamba Valley, ZNA's. Defense Commandant Brigadier General Humphrey Nyone says the 79 graduates have gained academic and military skills, adding that they are ready to take up any assignment.
In Defense and Security Studies, the course was built on a combined educational approach, which included lectures, seminars, syndicate activities, exercises, study tours. All these were aimed at facilitating adult learning. Suffice to mention, Honorable Minister, that Senior Commander Staff Course is designed to maximize the sharing of knowledge and experiences among the students because they come from diverse backgrounds.
Republican President Hakainde Hichilema, who was represented by Minister of Defense Ambrose Lufuma, says his administration is determined to meet the basic needs of every Zambian by having a united and prosperous Zambia together to promote regional peace, security, and play a key role in the economic reconstruction of the country.
For the Defense Force, this is important for economic recovery. As I've said before, we are in the process of reconstructing the economy. As such, we need to mobilize all the skills, talents and ideas from the citizenry across the country for us to harness our potential to find solutions that will help the country move forward. This can only be possible when there is peace and stability in the nation, and therefore we need a professional defense force that is capable of safeguarding the territorial integrity of our republic, at the same time creating an enabling and secure environment for development to take place.
The men and women in uniform have since been urged by the President to remain well-grounded in professionalism. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
You're watching Camnet TV Main News. We take our first set of commercials. We'll be back with more after this.
You have broken protocol for me. From your throne, you came for me. You have broken protocol for me. From your throne, you came for me. You surround me with your grace. You surround me with your power. You surround me with your spirit. Surround me with your grace. You surround me with your power.
Is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Welcome back. We continue with the rest of the news. Land Minister Elijah Mchima has assured the public of the safety of their data following power outages that the ministry has experienced in the past 1 week and has resulted in disruption of the server system. Mr. Mchima says his ministry's technical team is working on ascertaining that the Zambia Integrated Land Management System, which is currently down, is fully to operation within 48 hours. He has advised property owners and members of the public not to panic because his ministry has backed up servers at the Zambia National Data Center. ZILMIS is a computerized land administration system aimed to provide secure, transparent, and traceable land transactions that could help identify fraudulent practices. The Zambia International Land Management and Information System has been in operation for over 5 years.
That means we are also getting disrupted with our service to the public. And as a public institution, we need to be up to date with the information to inform the members of the public not to worry, especially property owners, for the ministry has got a backup server at the Zambia National Data Center. My ministry's technical team is rectifying the system with our backup and expect the system to be fully operational within 48 hours. Property owners and the members of the public should be assured that the ministry will endeavor to protect property rights and other rights registered with the Ministry and Natural Resources. This is against the background that some other people take advantage to bring in their own assertions, but this is normal when you are using equipment that we don't have any control. You know, this is rain season. There are a lot of disruptions, but we are on top of things. Nobody should panic. It's something that is within our mandate. As you know, we are migrating.
Small and Medium Enterprises Development Minister Elias Muwanga has implored businesses to embrace digital transformation. The minister says mindset transformation among citizens is key so that the country does not lag behind in terms of technology. He urged SMEs to take advantage of platforms offered by government to expand their businesses. He was speaking when he graced the 2022 MSE Digital Open Day in Lusaka. Meanwhile, Infertile Chief Executive Officer Evan Silavwen points out that digital innovation provides an opportunity for small and medium enterprises to grow and compete with big companies.
Technology is essential to work, communication, and surviving. The coronavirus pandemic was another example of this. During the pandemic, when everyone was stuck at home, technology helped to do remote work, online classes, entertainment, and relieve stress. Friday, 2nd December 2022, Infratel spearheaded the micro, small and medium-sized enterprises Digital Open Day, themed Innovating Local Digital Solutions for Sustainable Growth. The event was graced by Small and Medium Enterprises Development Minister Elias Mubanga, who implored small businesses to embrace technology. Digital technology innovation providers were on board, demonstrating how the use of technology can help improve businesses and maximize productivity levels. Mr. Mubanga says businesses that have taken an approach to digitalize service provision have improved their productivity.
The government is committed to ensure that we create an enabling environment to foster the growth of the ICT sector and facilitate the adoption of digital solutions by businesses such as what you have. It warms my heart to see all the delegates present here this morning. This is a confirmation of the readiness and willingness to improve this sector. That's why we have the Ministry of Science and Technology, and we work very closely, because we're looking after the SMEs, small and medium businesses who are yourselves.
Meanwhile, Infratel Chief Executive Officer Ivan Silavwe said digital innovation provides an opportunity for small and medium enterprises to grow and compete with big companies.
It has been said recently that MSMEs are now more likely to adopt digital technologies than larger businesses. This is the desire for Zambia as espoused by both the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises Development and the Ministry of Technology and Science. Moreover, as government continues to adopt more and more digital solutions, your business cannot afford to be left behind. You will notice that most of the government services now are gone on digital platforms. So if you are running a business and you are not able to adapt to the new way of doing things, then your business will be struggling. You won't be able to interface and take advantage of those digital solutions. The attainment of a digital economy, therefore, is a collective effort that should get everyone playing their part. So it's not a government responsibility alone. All of us running businesses, we have to play our
Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
The Ministry of Agriculture has heightened the means to fight pests and diseases in the crop sector in order to increase national food security in the country. Director of Agriculture, Dr. Chizumba Shapande, said the fall armyworm is devastating pest that is a threat to national food security if left unchecked. Dr. Shapande was speaking at Lusumpuko House in Choma during the handover of 120 pheromone traps for capturing the male moth to monitor the presence of fall armyworms in Southern Province. Here's Nais for more details.
The Ministry of Agriculture has heightened the means to fight pests and diseases in the crop sector in order to increase food security. Director of Agriculture, Dr. Chizumba Shependen, said the fall armyworm is a devastating pest that is a threat to national food security if left unchecked. Dr. Shepende was speaking at Sumpoko House in Choma during the handover of 120 pheromone traps for capturing the male moth to monitor the presence of fall armyworm.
Fall armyworms as well as the locusts. All these things coming up as a result of climate change, and as we experience these aspects of climate change, we are going to see an increase in intensity and frequency of these attacks. So it's very good that we are putting some measures in place to make sure that we are fighting the fall armyworms.
And Principal Plant Health Inspector Mabel Mudenda said the fall armyworm is one of the major pests that is everywhere in the country.
The fall armyworm has been one of the major pests that is everywhere in the country. Like we have heard, the figures were quite high. And we're happy that the traps have been distributed.
Southern Province Agriculture Coordinator Dr. Max Chombe thanked the emergency response to the fall armyworm outbreak in Zambia, supported by the Food and Agriculture Organization, for the support in fighting the pest.
The province has been affected so much by the fall armyworms, so the traps will serve as a monitor on how much we are attacked as a province. But also we are happy to mention that most of the seed companies, if not all under the FISIP program, they have the chemical to tackle the fall armyworm that has been added for Tenza Duo.
Reporting, Lawrence Kabutu in Choma.
International and sports news coming through right after this commercial.
You know I can take her a bit.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, man. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
Good news, good news. The rains have started. You need to plan your future. Generation Wealth is the way to go. Has grafted avocado plants fruiting within 2 to 3 years for sale at only 90 kwacha each, and ordinary avocados at only 45 kwacha each. Contact us on 0979 753010 or 0962 965 883. We are open from 8 hours to 17 hours, Monday to Friday, at Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill, opposite Hilltop Hospital.
Welcome back. We now get into international news. On the fringe of the East Africa's trade bloc session in Juba Thursday, December 1st, the UN envoy for Sudan discussed the peace process in Khartoum. 2 years after the signing of the Juba peace agreement by the former Sudanese military-civilian power, sharing government and various rebel groups, protocols have made little headway. The UN envoy for Sudan's press conference took place after he met with the representatives of the African Union, AU, and the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, as well as non-state stakeholders who are not part of the Juba peace agreement. According to reports by local media, Sudan Tribune, the UN, AU and IGAD representatives met with delegates from the Sudan People's Liberation Movement, North, and separately with the Sudan Liberation Movement, two organizations of rebel groups from regions of Darfur. In Sudan, ongoing talks between the country's main civilian bloc and the military aim to break the political deadlock following the 2021 military coup. Here's a roundup of international news.
On the fringes of East Africa's trade bloc session in Juba Thursday, the UN envoy for Sudan discussed the peace process in Khartoum. 2 years after the signing of the Juba peace agreement by the former Sudanese military-civilian power-sharing government and various rebel groups, protocols have made little headway.
We informed the three stakeholders about the political process in Khartoum. We asked their views, we asked their perspectives, we also asked for their advice, and we got it. And we said that we will, of course, report back to the stakeholders.
Volkerpart's press conference took place after he met with representatives of the African Union AU and the Intergovernmental Authority on Development IGAD, as well as non-state stakeholders who are not part of the Juba peace agreement.
Some forces may not be eager to enter the political process in Khartoum at this particular stage, but it does not mean that they are not relevant for a lasting return to a transition towards democracy and lasting peace. And we have said it often, but we can only repeat that transition towards democracy and stable, inclusive peace are very, very closely interrelated.
According to reports by local media, the UN, AU and IGAD representatives met with delegates from the Sudan People's Liberation Movement North and separately with the Sudan Liberation Movement, two organizations of rebel groups from regions of Darfur. In Sudan, talks between the country's main civilian bloc and the military aim to break the deadlock following last year's coup.
Soweto residents in South Africa have shared their views on the future of the country as President Cyril Ramaphosa faces calls to step down after a parliamentary probe found he may have breached anti-corruption laws. Ramaphosa is accused of trying to conceal the theft of a huge sum of cash stuffed into couches at his farm.
How can a person of his stature in his position be in a sum of money? And I feel like for me, he hasn't brought any change, you know. I feel like for me, we've been like in a downward spiral.
Ramaphosa has denied any wrongdoing, saying the accusations against him were without any merit.
No, I don't think you should resign. Because
the business of Pala Pala and his presidency are two separate issues. I think so far he's been a good president. Ramaphosa took office in 2018, vowing to root out corruption. He now risks becoming the third ANC leader forced out since the party came to power after the end of apartheid.
The South African President Cyril Ramaphosa is facing serious calls to step down after a parliamentary probe found he may have breached the country's anti-corruption laws related to the theft of millions of dollars at his Pala Pala game farm. Ramaphosa is being accused of trying to conceal the theft of millions of dollars at his farm in 2020. Sources privy to the matter are pointing out overwhelming evidence.
I think the evidence seems to be overwhelming without pronouncing before all of the evidence is in front of us. But I think it's really the way in which he's approached it, a very secretive, very non-disclosing kind of way that many people, irrespective of whether he ends up maybe winning the legal battle, his political legitimacy will have been damaged permanently.
Ramaphosa is now facing serious backlash with allegations that might lead to his resignation if the matter takes a new twist. Analysts are pointing out at persecution, a situation that can destabilize the ruling African National Congress Party.
I would suspect that the NPA at some point will have to take a fairly difficult decision to say, do we prosecute? Do we make charges? And as you well know, this fundamentally impacts on his future in the ANC. Because once charges are done, according to the ANC's policy, you have to step down, irrespective of whether you're guilty or not. So that's going to be a very crucial development in the coming weeks before the ANC, well, 2 or 3 weeks before the ANC Congress, is whether the NPA will act. My sense is that they don't have enough at this stage to make a strong case.
Previously, a parliamentary panel raised questions about the source of the money and why it wasn't disclosed to financial authorities, and cited a potential conflict between the president's business and official interests. To some, Ramaphosa must still play tough to the situation.
I don't see Cyril Ramaphosa stepping aside unless he's charged. If he's charged, he's got to. He has to. He's going to have to swallow it and basically do that. If he doesn't get charged and it's simply just this impeachment process, my sense is that he's going to try to go as far as he can with this and try to shore up his base and ride it out. I might be wrong, but I think politicians, their first instinct is survival.
Ramaphosa has denied any wrongdoing, insisting that the man was proceeds from the sale of animals at his farm. But opposition parties and Ramaphosa's distractors in the ruling African National Congress Party have called for him to step down.
Let's take a look at what we have in our sports news. Zambia under-17 men's national team coach Ian Bakala says qualifying for the Total Energies under-17 AFCON Algeria 2023 is non-negotiable and rallies his troops to qualify for the Junior Continental Showpiece. Bakala's side begin their quest for qualifications to Algeria as COSAFA qualifies the COSAFA Under-17 Championship with a Group B opener against Mozambique on Saturday, set for Bingu National Stadium, Ion Lilongwe at 18:30. Bakala says tomorrow's game against Mozambique is important for Zambia. The expectations is very high from the players and the country at large. The boys are prepared and they are ready for the cup. Zambia losing finalists in 2 consecutive championships at the expense of South Africa in 2020 and Angola in 2021 will be seeking to break the jinx, but they must first be among the top 2 teams in Group B that comprises Mozambique, Seychelles and South Africa after 3 matches. COSAFA announced late on Thursday that there was a late change to the fixtures, with Angola withdrawn after some of their players failed the eligibility test, meaning only 3 teams will compete in Group A. Well, that sports item brings us to the end of Camnet TV main news, but before we go, here are the headlines once again. President HICHILEMA cannot use a jet that was fraudulently procured as Cabinet backs its sale. Load shedding is back under the UPND administration. UCF injects $531 United States dollars into a fertilizer plant. In international news, UN envoy discusses Sudan peace process in Juba. And in sports, BAKALA upbeat ahead of under-17 COSAFA opener. Our Camnet verse of the day is coming from the book of Hebrews 1 verse 1 to 2, and it reads, "In the past God spoke to our forefathers through the prophets at many times and in various ways. But in these last days he has spoken to us by his Son, whom he appointed heir of all things, and through whom he made the universe." Thank you for watching. I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Pleasant viewing.